It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Be sure to follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. Also, check out the show on YouTube. If you're not watching there already, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Also, never miss when we go live, although I should say we apologize for not really going live past couple of weeks. The Smitty was sick and had
it's on me.
It says it had some scheduling issues. And then this week, Steelers are playing on Thursday Night Football, so no Steelers Saturday sit down, but hit the notification bell so you know when we go live every single time moving forward. And also check us out on the listening platforms as well. Follow the channel there. Leave a 5-star review on things like Spotify. You can even leave comments. So if you're interested in leaving a comment or anything you want to talk about on the show, let us know down below. Also, check out the description of each and every show where you can see the list of all of our great sponsors down in the description, as well as Year 8 Rocking Around the 412. It's our Christmas fundraiser where we've raised over $36,000, been able to help help 177 kids in the local Pittsburgh area, provide them with the Christmas that they've always wanted. We have the GoFundMe down below, which helps participate in raising money for individual families, as well as partnering with the East Rochester Salvation Army in the name of our late friend Dalton Keene, and adopting kids off of that angel tree. I know Smitty just said he wanted to say something, but yeah, those are a couple ways to get involved. But what you got, Smitty?
I just wanted to say, so we got some tags going. We got that stuff rolling now. Already, awesome. Day one after Mary Kay reached out to Kaylee and I and said about the tags, 28. We got 28 tags accounted for already, thanks to Kaylee and us. How many I felt comfortable committing to with the money that we raised so far. So, boom, we're already going over 200 kids just with that. That's what we've got so far. Yeah,
that is amazing. But yeah, if you want to continue to get involved, you can get involved with the tags with the East Rochester Salvation Army, or you can continue to either donate directly to Smitty and I ourselves, or the GoFundMe that is down below. Learn about the message. And you can get involved and get a chance to win some prizes as well. We're going to be giving away some Penguins tickets, some Pittsburgh sports memorabilia, Pat Fryermuth signed jersey, Around the 412 merch, Game Changer shirts. There's going to be all sorts of goodies, but that's for people who are willing to be able to donate to this message as well. But if you're just willing to share the message, that's all we really ask for, just trying to get as many eyeballs as we can on it. You never know who could see this thing. We just want to be able to help as many children around this time of year. It's crazy. We're already halfway through October. Our cutoff date, I believe, is December 13th. Yeah, we were less than 2 months from our cutoff date for Around the 412. December 9th, I believe, is the cutoff for the East Rochester Salvation Army tag. So get involved while you can, because it's awesome.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Game Changers to be a part of it. We have a new clothing sponsor because I've been talking about this for a while. A lot of people have been asking us about our merch because everybody wants a hat, and those are like a one-time limited thing that I put a bulk in order for. If you didn't get one right away, you weren't able to get one. I'm still rocking one of those right now, by the way. However, our guy Taylor, Shop Yins, hooked us up now through Shop Yins. The link down below, you can get our merch. I'm actually rocking the Heather Gray hoodie right now, the Around the 412 logo there, the OG. But yeah, hoodies, t-shirts, hats. And he asked for my opinion on the hats. Personally, I'm big on like the rope coming across the brim style hats now. Those are what I really like. So those are on the site in a bunch of different color options. You can get a big flag. Like the For the Boys flags were real big back in the day when we were in like college years. Get one of those that say Around the 412 on them. There's koozies on the site. There's a bunch of different stuff. Shorts. So go check it out. Our referral code is down below on the site. Save yourself $10 and then free shipping if you go over 75 as well. So that's down below. But we'll talk about that more. I just want to talk about them at the beginning of the show just to give them a shout out for jumping on as a new sponsor. But I'll play their ad later in the show when we get there. Tyler, you mentioned the time that we've missed. I was sick like all of last week. And for me to miss a show, it's going to be pretty bad. I literally did not have a voice. So it would have been pretty hard to do a podcast. I also missed 2 episodes of Afternoon Drive because of it. So people, if you don't see me doing a podcast, something's pretty wrong. So I was in bad shape last week. I'm sure you could still kind of hear it in my voice, but I'm back this week. So we got a lot to cover on this week's Steelers show. And we got to talk about what happened in the Browns game. We got to talk about what we think is going to happen in the Bengals game. To be honest, we got to start with something that is neither of those. I just recently put out a clip because our guy, Ricky Scoops, made a comeback to Twitter today for a few hours and then vanished once again. But something he dropped in there was a little nugget that Jakobi Meyers is expected to be traded. A name that I thought like could definitely be on the block, but that was pretty definitive to say that he was going to be traded. And then he didn't practice today, and he's not hurt or anything like that. So it certainly seems like they're kind of keeping him out for that reason. On Afternoon Drive, about 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from Friday, it would have been. I talked about this. I had heard that they had reached out again, the Steelers, to the Raiders about Jakobi Meyers, and we're kind of told like, not yet. We want to see how the next couple of weeks go. Well, since then, the Raiders have lost 2 more football games. They're not sitting pretty right now in that AFC West where all the other teams are playing very well. It has not gone well with Geno Smith in year 1 in Vegas. Seems like they're going to move in a different direction. I think the Steelers are certainly in play for Jakobi Meyers. And you want to talk about just like the ideal player that I feel like you could drop into this situation, a guy that's never like commanded a bunch of targets and made a big deal about it. He's perfectly fine being the number 2 option in a passing game. He's a willing blocker. He can kind of do it all. He can play inside and he can play outside. Good enough separator, good enough field stretcher. I feel like this is kind of like what the doctor ordered if you're looking for kind of like that sweet spot in terms of making a relatively significant splash, but also it's not something that's totally going to break the bank, whether it be in draft capital or if they do decide to move forward with a contract extension with this player as well.
I think it's something that also is something that will be useful for the Steelers too, because we've talked about with wide receivers in the past that they could go out and get, and we don't necessarily think that it's something that the Steelers necessarily would need as far as a player type, not necessarily fitting a certain mold that the Steelers could be useful for. Jakobi Meyers, I feel like, fits that mold, and you just went over the reasons as to why. Like being a willing blocker, that is huge in the Arthur Smith offense, and he does enough on the inside and outside where I think that, especially if you look at his competition that he would have in Pittsburgh, it's immediate upgrade to your current personnel at that position. I think that even with Calvin Austin, whenever he does come back, like having those 3 as your top 3 would immensely increase the floor of this wide receiver room. So I think Jakobi Meyers would make a ton of sense for the Steelers for every reason you said. You're not going to be giving up a ton of draft capital for him. He fits the mold of what the offense is trying to do, and it just raises that floor in the wide receiver room, and it's someone that is realistic enough where it could happen, but also makes a ton of sense from a personnel standpoint.
Yeah, I'm hoping they get it done. I don't think this is a sure thing. It's just, connecting some dots here. I think it's very much in play that this is something that does go down. And I would love to see it happen between tomorrow night's game and when they come back on Sunday Night Football against the Packers, because you almost got like I think that's why they were trying to get something done after that Vikings, when they had a bye week to try to integrate him. But now you'd have a little bit until you get that Sunday Night Football game against the Packers, which, by the way, all positive messaging in terms of feeling pretty good that Calvin Austin will return for that one. So reinforcements on the way following this Thursday night game against the Bengals. And we'll get there and talk about that game here in a little bit. But as we mentioned, we didn't have a Steelers Saturday sit down to preview this one against the Browns. We typically recap the game like right now, but the problem is we also got this Bengals game that's happening by the time you guys are watching or listening to this tonight. So we got to talk about that as well. Let's talk about this Browns game first and foremost, though. First takeaway, I stepped foot on that field following the game, and my God, I literally stepped right into a divot, like as soon as I stepped in it. Terrible, awful conditions on that field. And I'm not going to get into this like stupid stuff where people are saying like Pitt needs to get their, like, this does not happen. I've never seen it this bad. I think it was an anomaly. They were already prepared to replace it like they do 3 times a season following this game, because now you don't have Pitt or the Steelers there for a little bit, because Pitt's on the road and the Steelers are on the road, but then they do play back-to-back days. Pitt's at home the day before that Sunday Night Football game against the Packers for the Steelers. So yeah, I just think it was, bad situation, bad circumstances for that field. And definitely players very vocal about it. I just don't think that we've ever seen it like that bad. I've seen that not be a great playing surface. Like if Pitt played the day before and then you see the Steelers play it on it at night, that was kind of surprising to me, see how bad it was close up. It's just, I don't think that we ever see it quite that bad again.
No, and I mean, it's not the first time that we've seen a player slip. I mean, speaking of Chris Boswell on that field goal, It's not the first time we've seen a player slip on a kick like that. But I feel like the more telling part of it for me was we have noticed that over his Steelers tenure over the past 6-7 months, that Aaron Rodgers is not somebody that is going to say something unless he actually feels that, like, what he's saying is something worth being said. And he also brought up the playing conditions and that it's like almost unplayable how poorly that field was. And yeah, I feel like it is an anomaly. It's not something new that we hear about Heinz or Acrisure Stadium over the years about how the playing surface can be. But I mean, you being on the field and notably Aaron Rodgers taking time out of his presser to acknowledge the field, like obviously he could have just kind of more or less brushed it off if he didn't think it was that big a deal. But we've seen over the past several months, if Aaron Rodgers says something, he has meaning behind it. And I feel like he acknowledging that, it must have been really bad. And then you obviously saying, walking on the field, stepping into that divot, potentially out for the season with a high ankle sprain. It's got to be rough. And I don't think it's enough. It's a big deal enough to like make it a like newsworthy thing, but it is worth noting that the field was just awful. And obviously they're resodding it and turning it over and going to be getting some new grass and everything. So hopefully by that Packers game, it does turn around and looks and feels much better for the players. But it did look rough on Sunday, even before that Boswell missed field goal. I thought it looked like a hard, dusty surface that they were playing on.
Yeah, like they're spray painting spots green to make it look like grass, even though it's not. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad, man. And you talk about Chris Boswell, who does not miss and takes so much pride in his work. He was so mad. He was so mad after the game, just like he just wanted to be left alone. He was standing by himself, just like waiting for his family to get out there so he could leave. Yeah, he wanted no part of that, even though the team had just won a football game pretty handily. Chris Boswell, by the way, a kicker that it hasn't come out yet. I've put in the request. They said it's coming. Very much deserves a T from Game Changers. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412 here. Got to take a quick second to tell you about our friends at Game Changers. That's their logo. This is one of their shirts. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Doesn't matter if it's sports, music, movies. They got you covered with their designs. Over 5,000 different designs in that catalog over there. GameChanger.la or Pick6.la. You'll save yourself $10 when you use the code AT412 on your order. The link is below to both of those sites. Go check out their entire catalog. Again, 5,000 different designs. If you go with the black or the white, it'll be true to size. If you go with the pepper, which I'm wearing right now, or the ivory, they'll be a bit oversized. It's a heavyweight material. Beautiful stuff. Go check them out. And again, save yourself $10 using code AT412 at checkout. I mean, breaking the fourth wall, I don't know. What were you laughing about as I played that ad?
Did it not have a gap for you? Like when you hit play to when it actually showed up?
Oh, maybe, not for me.
Maybe for me, it glitched, and I was just cracking up because it seemed like we were sitting here awkwardly. So maybe on the actual
that's going by that I'm assuming you guys can hear.
Maybe the actual recording, we won't actually have that pause. But for
I kind of hope that we do because it's funny. Yeah. Okay. We'll have to look forward to that happening. Anyways, let's talk about what actually took place on that field, if you want to call it that, on Sunday against the Browns. What a performance from this defense. 16 QB hits is like their most in like a decade and a half. Sacked Dylan Gabriel 6 times. He dropped back 58 for some reason through 52 passes. I mean, not a good plan of attack, in my opinion, from the Cleveland Browns, but I don't know what they would have attempted to do. Quinshon Judkins was having no luck running the ball early. Then you fall down multiple possessions. You kind of got to throw the ball to try to play catch up. His receivers did not help him out. Steelers were locking things down on the back end. Thought this was just dominance. I mean, they could have won this game by 20 plus points, I thought. I felt really good about the defense performance for sure. I thought they continued to take strides, not only shutting down the run game and Quinshon Judkins, but just as a whole, like from a communication aspect, it just kind of seems like everything's kind of in sync right now. You got Joey back in the fold. I think that's a big part of it too, is you finally had like your full complement of defensive backs and defensive players. Like that was the first game where that's been the case, where they had everybody that they wanted to have. So, yeah, I think the arrow is still pointing up for this defense. I still think that they can get even better, which is kind of scary to think about. We get to see the 3 edge rusher stuff. I mean, this is just pure dominance from the Steelers defense on Sunday.
Yeah, I think they've taken a lot of strides from where they looked early in the season. I think that they are stopping the run much better than they were the first couple of weeks. Obviously, being able to handle Quinshon Judkins the way they did, 12 carries for 36 yards, a long of 6, so he didn't even get any really sustained longer runs. Longest run came from Jerome Ford, which was a 12-yard run. I think that they look so much better whenever they are facing that rushing attack. And if they're doing that with success, I think that just even makes the passing defense a lot more effective. And it's more complementary in that aspect. And you were able to see some like corner blitzes as well. Jalen Ramsey got a couple of sacks too. I think that the pass rush was amazing on Sunday. Like you said, 16 quarterback hits and 6 sacks. I think that like another one that I want to highlight, but like just because he's so good at what he does, even if it doesn't always necessarily show up on a box score, is that Nick Herbig is one of the best pass rushers that like a just pure pass rusher in the NFL. Maybe that's hyperbole, but when I'm saying that he's better as a pass rusher than TJ Watt, who's on his own team, I feel like that statement has to be true, that he's one of the best just pure pass rushers in the NFL. What he can do from his size, from different sides of the field, he makes tackles look like they're missing. And I don't know if it's because his size, it's so awkward for the tackles to block him, but it's just so hard for the tackles to take on the angles that he's taking. It's ridiculous. I mean, he's so good. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight him real quick. But this overall defensive performance was just complete domination. I mean, you had a few field goal drives from the Browns, and that was it. They never found the end zone. And I don't think that you could really ask for much more than what you got from the Steelers defense on Sunday, because it was a complete, utter dominance from opening kickoff till the end of the game in that phase of the football field for 4 quarters. And it was a lot of fun to watch. Probably the most fun watching the defense all year so far.
Jalen Ramsey multi-sack game, first one from a Steelers defensive back since Mike Hilton on Christmas in 2017. You just haven't seen a whole lot of it. Like they finally have that skill set, and that's why I don't know that I would say. And there's probably some recency bias in this, and it'd be hard to say. I don't know that this was the best coach game of Terrell Austin's Steelers tenure. I think it was the most creative one though, and I think it's for the reason that we talked about. Like you had Joey back in the fold. Without him, yes, Jalen can play a lot of different spots, but still, like where he lines up pre-snap is where you can expect him to be post-snap. So there's not much mystery there. When you have your full complement of guys here, it opens up the menu for what you can do defensively. And I thought Terrell Austin did a great job with like throwing guys from different spots at Dillon Gabriel, whether it be Jalen Ramsey, whether it be DeShon Elliott, whether it be Patrick Queen. There was just guys in different spots, and they were confusing Dillon Gabriel. Now we'll talk about if that's something that they can continue to do on Thursday night, but I would, that was the most impressive thing about it to me from this defense, was more than anything else, I thought it was just looked more creative to me.
Yeah, I did think the creativity shown, and I think that they threw a lot of things at Dillon Gabriel that confused him somewhat. I mean, he completed a little over 55% of his passes, but looking at it, giving up 221 yards on 58 dropbacks, 52 passing attempts, I feel like as a secondary, like you take that all day. And I think that part of that creativity affected the young quarterback. I'm curious to see how the quarterbacking decision for the Browns is going to go. Notably, we're actually going to talk about it just in a second, but they traded away the Joe Flacco to the Cincinnati Bengals earlier last week, which obviously Mike Tomlin made the news for with some of his comments on that aspect, which I kind of reciprocate and agree with him. Like it is an interesting decision by the Browns to make that in-division trade whenever you have essentially just 2 rookies that you're depending upon behind Joe Flacco. They had already traded Kenny Pickett to the Raiders earlier in the season. So now I'm curious to see, obviously the Steelers podcast focusing on their defense, but like I'm curious to see what the Browns are going to do moving forward, like how long they're actually going to give Dillon Gabriel before they try to give the waters to Shadur Sanders, because it's interesting that you don't have that. I don't want. It's crazy because I'm calling him a safety net, but like Joe Flacco, just like the almost more for sure thing than you have because now you're just rolling the dice with 2 rookies.
Yeah, and I think that Sanders should play at some point this year. I think that you got to try to figure out if either one of those guys are going to show you enough to prevent you from taking a quarterback. I mean, they have 2 first-round picks next year, and I expect them to use one of those on a quarterback or packaging, however they have to do it, to end up landing a franchise signal caller. But yeah, I mean, you got to, in my opinion, play both this year and find out if for some reason one of these guys miraculously stop you from doing that. But yeah, it was interesting to hear Tomlin just like so bluntly call out another GM in the AFC North like that for sure. And I think that honestly, the biggest part of that is the respect that he has for Joe Flacco. I mean, you saw him talk about the way that like Indianapolis last year, he was like, yeah, don't let Anthony Richardson not play in this game. Keep him upright because we want him to be in this game and not see Joe Flacco. Then it doesn't happen. They see Joe Flacco and then they lose to Joe Flacco in that game against the Colts. So I think that he just has immense respect for him. He's like 500 against him, and there's not many quarterbacks that are against Mike Tomlin. So I think that he knows him, knows that he gives them a shot. He's been a shot in the arm for Cincinnati, going from Jake Browning to him. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But real quick, I do want to switch sides. Talk about the other side of the ball in this one, the Steelers offense. I think that they once again, heavy jumbo stuff, a lot of Darnell Washington, a lot of Spencer Anderson. But I thought was really cool was like right out of the gate, we start to see them sprinkle in some wrinkles out of that stuff. You know, you get the PA rollout and you get Darnell on this deep route and get him moving down the field completely wide open. And get an explosive play in the pass game out of that look. And that's what we keep looking for is like, how do you build off this? I think you got to keep throwing. I think at some point we're going to see Spencer Anderson catch a pass, to be honest with you. And them just keep building off of what they're showing. It's almost like, I really like that Chris Carter brought this up on Locked On. Like, it's kind of like training wheels, if you will, for the offensive line. And then it's like those guys continue to play more together and get better. Maybe you can scale back how much you use this, but like they've been so effective running it right now. And I don't think that you can use it in every single matchup. I don't know how much you can run it if you fall behind early and are playing catch up, but like, especially against this defense where the Steelers should have no problem, you know, kind of doing whatever they want to Cincinnati, if you will. On paper, this is a matchup they should be able to do whatever they want against Cincinnati. We still should see this quite a bit, in my opinion, is the jumbo looks. They did it super effective against Cleveland on Sunday. Very good at it. And then the last thing for me, you know, it wasn't like super complex, anything that they did. The last thing that I want to bring up from Sunday's game offensively was DK Metcalf. Just continued to create explosives. 4 receptions in this one, 20 yards or more, which was tied for the league lead in week 6, along with Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons. A touchdown for a 4th straight game, which is the longest streak that the Steelers have had for a receiver since Antonio Brown in 2018, where he did it 8 straight weeks with the receiving touchdown that year. Just nuts. But yeah, I mean, it's just so nice to have that guy as a guy that creates explosives seemingly out of nowhere. Like in this one, 2 of those 4 were 20 air yards. But typically you can get this guy on like bubble screens or just the quick passing game, and then he creates a ton after the catch. And it's just been a while since we had this type of player. It's almost, he's a more, I know people are going to take this a much different route than the way that I would like this to come out of my mouth. He's a more rocked up Martavis Bryant, if you will.
I can get behind that.
I wasn't going to say bricked up.
Yeah, I was wondering if you're going to say bricked up. No, I can get behind that. DK's been very good. He's been very good. And I think that, and maybe this is going to be taken the wrong way too, despite how good, it's not because of a phrasing. It's just because of an opinion. Right. But despite how good George Pickens has looked in Dallas, I truly feel that DK Metcalf on the Steelers right now is being more impactful than George Pickens would have been in the same scenario. I think that he is being utilized differently than George would have been. I think that obviously George is playing differently in Dallas than he would have been expected to in Pittsburgh. I just think that it's a trade where you can look at both sides and say that nobody really lost the trade. I wouldn't necessarily say like it was a win for both teams. But honestly, you probably could. But nobody lost that trade. I think that he's doing great things down in Dallas, and I think that the Steelers got obviously a pick for him, but DK Metcalf is what the Steelers needed right now, and I think that he's performing up to this point probably better in this offense than what I would have seen from George Pickens at this point. Because I mean, I look at what George was able to do last year. I feel like DK, at least right now, has been more impactful of a player in what you've gotten from him.
Yeah, I don't know that Aaron would have gotten this type of production out of George. I don't know that it would have been the same type of relationship on field. And I mean, questions about how it would go off field for sure as well. Like, that's why, from a football perspective, they obviously miss having George Pickens. Like, if they could have made it work, it would have been great. Anybody that wants to sit there and pretend it was in the cards, go ahead and pretend that it was in the cards. There was never the opportunity for that to happen. And wish George the best. Hope he has turned over a new leaf. Looks very happy there. He's putting up numbers. It's not like the team is having much success right now. No. But I think that just goes to show where his motive lies. And that's completely fine. Get paid. We'll see how things go for him. It seems like he has potentially turned over a new leaf, but things are going well for him individually. We'll see if that continues. Wish him all the best. Hope it does. But yeah, I agree in terms of what DK is bringing to this team as opposed to what I think George would be. But George has certainly been very impactful down there in Dallas. And thank goodness they did make that deal, because no CeeDee Lamb for a bit. And they've needed every bit of the contributions that he's given them, and still hasn't, again, meant much in the wins and loss column for them in a positive manner. But neither here nor there. People will continue to debate that and talk about that. Yeah, I don't know how I have too much else to say. It was a pretty simple game plan. This is just the Steelers dominated this football game. They were the much better team on paper, and it played out how it should have. Doesn't always happen. Maybe it won't happen tonight against the Bengals. We'll talk about that when we come back. But first, I got to tell you guys about Keith's Barbershop. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from around the 412 had to take a quick second to tell you about our friends at Keith's Barbershop. That's Keith's Barbershop, 401 Burkage Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app, The Cut. Book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do a walk-in with Tony or Ashley. Again, download the app, The Cut, to book an appointment today, or they do take walk-ins as well. Could not imagine going anywhere else. Old school vibe in there. Check them out. Was there a delay on that one?
No, there wasn't. That one was more crisp.
Okay, good. Well, look at that new logo up in the corner. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Yeah, this Cincinnati Bengals game. It's so interesting. I'll be honest, I have a bit of a weird feeling in my stomach about it. Just because the first thing that I always do with every game, and I've mentioned this before, is I look for the path of defeat. How can the other team beat the Steelers? How could things go south? And with this one, I think it's pretty simple, is those wide receivers. If they have a field day, that's the way that's going to happen. We've seen Joe Flacco beat this team as recently as last year. So it's not like I think Joe Flacco is necessarily some world beater. It's just I think he can do the job. And the job is getting the ball into the hands of those dynamic playmakers that we saw, that we've seen expose the Steelers in the past. Massive game, in my opinion, for Joey Porter Jr., who last year, I mean, you looked at the box score and it might not show it, but you looked at the penalty yards that he accrued in that game going against T. Higgins. Yeah, I think he needs a get back in Cincinnati in this one. However, this is why I think the Steelers built the secondary the way that they did. Like, it's specifically with this matchup in mind. I think this is why you go and get Darius Slay. This is why you go and get Jalen Ramsey. This is a massive matchup for this secondary, and as long as they take care of business, I like the Steelers' chances in this one, and I like it to be pretty handily because I believe in this offense's ability to move the ball against that defense, which may or may not have Trey Hendrickson. The one question to me is we talk about, Steelers defense versus Bengals offense. We can start with that side here. Is going to be what happens if we don't have DeShon Elliott in the fold. He's questionable because of a personal matter. Did not travel with the team. The team's already in Cincinnati. He did not travel with them. We'll see if he meets them tomorrow. But if they don't have him for this game on Thursday night, more Thornhill, more Chuck Clark, more Peppers. Not sure what the plan of attack is going to be, but DeShon's their best safety, in the box. He's the best tackler on the team.
Led the team in tackles
it's a massive
on Sunday.
loss. Massive loss for sure on the back end. So I'll be most curious if they don't have him, how they mitigate.
Yeah, the I don't want to say the good thing about that because obviously losing DeShon would be terrible. But the good thing about that though is as far as coverage goes, you're at least expecting more of your corners to be making up most of that for the guys like Jamar and T. Higgins. But yeah, losing out on DeShon Elliott would be a big loss because of you're losing your best tackler on the team. Like I said, he led the team in tackles on Sunday, and being able to be creative in the box like they do with him, I don't feel like they can do necessarily the same things with Peppers or Thornhill or Clark. So we'll see what happens, but I do like the Steelers' odds against this team. I don't think that the Cincinnati, as far as offensively, has been able to run the ball as effectively this year as they did last year with Chase Brown. So I feel like a continuation of what you saw on Sunday could happen, where the Steelers are continuing to figure out that rushing defense and improve upon that. I just think that as a Chase Brown fantasy owner, the disappointment is immense so far. So they just haven't been effective.
Like 50 yards a game.
Yeah, they just haven't been efficient with it. Like he's getting carries, but they aren't getting the push. And I think that
they're dead last in rushing, 56.7 yards a game.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. My fantasy team, luckily, I've got some other dogs on it, but Chase Brown's been a bit of a disappointment. But I think that honestly, the catalyst for me for this Bengals offense, oddly enough, is the old guy, Joe Flacco. I think that he is that much of a upgrade from Jake Browning and what you're able to get out of the offense. Like Joe Flacco knows how to run an NFL offense. He knows how to distribute the football. And it's a lot of the same things that I feel like we were talking about for having an old quarterback when it comes to Aaron Rodgers too. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is at a higher level still than what Joe Flacco has been in his later career, but I still think that Joe Flacco can hurt you enough, especially with the weapons that he'll have at hand, to be able to distribute that football and move the defense or move the offense down the field. We'll see how the Steelers are able to defend that. I think that the big thing is and a good thing coming off of Sunday's game is like looking at all those sacks, looking at all those quarterback hurries. The difference, though, is I feel like Joe Flacco is going to know when to get the ball out a little bit quicker. I think that he's going to be able to throw it away a little bit better than Dylan Gabriel is, the rookie. And we're going to see how the Steelers are going to be able to shut him down, essentially, because I just really think that he is that much of an upgrade from Jake Browning and what you're getting as far as what he's able to get out of these weapons, because it should be more or less plug and play for a lot of quarterbacks with the weapons that you have on the Bengals. But you saw with Jake Browning the last couple of weeks that he's not it. He's not playing like he did previously when Joe Burrow has gotten hurt. That's why they made this trade for Joe Flacco. Oddly enough, the Browns decided to actually trade him away. Still doesn't make any sense in my mind. But I do think that he's the catalyst in this one when it comes to being against the Steelers defense. He is going to be that needle mover that shows the success, because you've seen what these offensive weapons can do, like Jamar, when you just get the ball into his hands. Joe Flacco is probably going to be better at that than Jake Browning was going to be, and it could cause some problems for the Steelers on Thursday.
And to be honest, I really don't want to make it seem like we're talking up Joe Flacco this much, but it is really as simple as like he can get the ball to these guys. Jake Browning wasn't. But I think that the big difference for me with the way that the Steelers defend them is Jake Browning is a guy that I think you could still confuse in similar ways to Dylan Gabriel, rushing more than 4. But the Steelers can hopefully get home just rushing 4 and having more bodies away from the line of scrimmage, because you're talking about, again, the strength of this team being the guys that are catching the passes. So hopefully they can get home just rushing 4 against the offensive line that, quite frankly, they should be able to just rush 4. You shouldn't have to send anything exotic. You shouldn't have to send extra pressure. You shouldn't have to send blitz packages of Patrick Queen and Jalen Ramsey or whoever. in this one to be able to get home, because like you're probably going to need to drop 7 guys back from the line of scrimmage. And I think that that's the big difference. I think rushing 4 is probably the plan of attack against Joe Flacco. I think if that was Jake Browning in there, maybe you are at times sending 5 or 6 guys. That to me is the big difference in how the Steelers are going to defend this.
Yeah, I agree with that. Still, I feel like the Steelers should be able to overpower this Bengals offense. It's just going to be how they are getting to Joe Flacco. But from what I've seen from the Bengals this year, unless Joe Flacco is making that much of a leap, there's not a ton outside of obviously the names of the receivers that has scared me so far watching this offense this year. Compared to last year, especially because last year, obviously, number 1 offense in the league. This year, bit of a disappointment. Obviously, missing Joe Burrow plays into that. But even when he was healthy, they weren't looking that good.
Yeah, switching gears, talking about the Steelers offense here. They went into Cincinnati last year and put up 44 points, their best offensive output of the season. Now, a lot of pieces have obviously changed there from that offense that did that. But this offense, more effective in the red zone than last year's team was so far as a whole. One of the best teams also in 3rd and short situations. They just, while it's still a relatively average offense as a whole, they win in the big areas, the money downs, where you need to win. They win on those margins. And I'm curious to see, going against this defense, again, not whether or not they have Trey Hendrickson is such a massive piece of this to me. I mean, not that they're a good defense even with him, but without him, I mean, my goodness, who's the best player in this defense then? DJ Turner, the corner, Geno Stone, like Logan Wilson, who I was a big fan of just a couple years ago, just got benched. He's not even starting for them at linebacker anymore. They're going to get Shamar Stewart, their first-round pick, back in the fold, but he's still a rookie and hasn't, produced at a high level at least yet. I'm excited to see that matchup with Troy Fautanu. But again, this game's not played on paper, but if you're looking at it on paper, I just do not see a way that the Steelers just do not dictate the terms of their offense going against this defense.
Yeah, I think that coming off of the Browns week, where they played probably one of the best, if not the best, defensive line that they faced so far, going to what they're going to be playing on the Bengals on Thursday, I have a hard time seeing where the Steelers are not going to find success moving the football. I think that they're going to be able to run the football even more efficiently than they did on Sunday. I think that Jalen Warren could have a really good game. And if Trey Hendrickson isn't playing, this defensive line for the Bengals is not scary whatsoever. They should be able to get a good push and move that football. And literally at every level, they don't have any really elite talent on the defensive side of the football. And the Steelers have shown against some better defenses that they can move the football. They can get into the end zone. And I feel like this is a game where Aaron Rodgers should be able to maybe pick apart is the wrong wordage to use. Maybe that's a little bit more of an exaggeration, but I really feel like he should be able to put the ball where he wants to, get his guys open. And I just don't see the threat. On the paper, I don't see the threat. Even with Trey Hendrickson, I don't see a huge threat. You see what like the Steelers were able to do with Myles Garrett on the field. Myles Garrett didn't do anything on Sunday. And I feel like the same thing with Trey Hendrickson, especially if he's not playing. I mean, what are we talking about? I just don't see how this Steelers offense is supposed to struggle against this defense.
Yeah, what a wild season it's been for Arthur Smith. I mean, you had one of his best games in week 1, 2 weeks where I was very critical. Didn't think that he was given a bunch of answers to his guys for cover 2. And I didn't think that, he was creating easy separation for the receivers. I didn't think he had pretty good game plans. And then following up with a really good game plan against Minnesota, and then an awesome game plan against Cleveland where, all the rollouts were going away from Myles. They just had a perfect game plan for making him just completely obsolete in this one. So, like, 3 of his best called games and 2 of his worst called games in between them somehow. And now also, like, seemingly right at the top of the list in terms of who could be the next head coach for the Tennessee Titans. I mean, depending on how things go, his tenure as the Steelers offensive coordinator might not go beyond this year. But I appreciate the job that we've started to see him do here now. I think that there's a cohesion that's been built between him and Aaron, and it's really become nice, and it's really starting to gel. I think that there's a lot of trust there, and I'm just excited to watch that continue to grow. But yeah, I just, again, going back to what I said when we started off talking about this, I always try to find like the matchup that could kill them. How could they lose this game? What's the path to a loss? Just defensively, at least from the Cincinnati side, I don't see it. I think the Steelers are going to have to just repeatedly plaxico burst themselves in this one in order to give Cincinnati a chance. Like, not even Cincinnati creating turnovers, just the Steelers gift wrapping them multiple times. That's just the way that I see it on paper.
What are 5'10" Cam Taylor, Britt, and DJ Turner supposed to do against DK? I feel like the if you're comparing the two, you look at how the Steelers secondary is equipped to take on receivers like Jamar or T. Higgins. I feel like it's the opposite for Cincinnati. They're just so ill-equipped to take on a receiver like DK and to take on these jumbo packages. That's what I was about to say. Who's covering these jumbo packages? By the way, I wanted to say this when we were talking about the Browns. Ain't no way that Darnell isn't getting further if he's sub 300 pounds. You cannot convince me otherwise that man is sub 300 pounds.
He's not. I mean, he's north. Not only is he not sub 300, he's north of 300.
Like Spencer Anderson is listed at 305. They probably weigh the same weight.
If Spencer Anderson is truly 305, he's less than Darnell. I feel confident saying that. I mean, dude, like Sarge on Sunday was like, go like walk past Darnell. I just want to see like kind of close to him. So I just like kind of walked past Darnell while he was talking with his family, and that's just a ridiculous. It's wild to say that we are the same thing. We are both men, but vastly different looking. Anyways, yeah, I don't know how they have an answer for anything. Like I could see you could throw out any name on the Steelers offense and I could see them having a big game. It wouldn't surprise me if Roman ends up having a nice little game here. What's a nice Roman Wilson game? Probably like 2 or 3 catches.
Connor Hayward.
It wouldn't surprise me if Connor Hayward scored another touchdown. Well, you know what? We typically, I mean, do you have some bold predictions in mind? Do you have bold predictions in mind? I guess we didn't discuss this.
Yeah,
but
I've thought of some. I've thought of some as we've been talking, because I knew that we are missing out on the Steelers Saturday sit down, so we kind of have to get those. But yeah, I've got some bold predictions in mind, so we do just want to jump into that.
I was saying, let's see if anything else, like, you know.
No, I think we kind of. Matchup wise, the only thing of note that I remembered that I wanted to bring up is that this is the second oldest matchup in NFL history when it comes to the age of the quarterbacks, with starting quarterbacks being Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco. The oldest was Tom Brady and Drew Brees played in 2021. They were like 85 years and 110 days, and Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers are like 84 years and like 260 days. So they beat them by like less than a year, by like 6 months of a year is what the age difference is. But yeah, this is the second oldest matchup all time between starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
And it might happen twice, assuming Joe Flacco remains the starter for the Bengals at the end towards the end of the season. Or no, they don't play them. They play them 2 times relatively close to it. Yeah, their week 11 matchup as well, November 16th. So they're not the end of the year matchup this year. It's Cleveland and Baltimore to wrap up for the Steelers this time around. Okay, yeah, let's get into some bold predictions. You guys know the drill. Tip it well. I guess maybe you don't. Maybe you only watch this and aren't used to Steelers Saturday sit down, but we typically do this on Saturdays where you give some bold predictions, offense, defense. If we have a bonus one, and then throw out our score predictions as well. You know, the bonus thing made me think of something because typically that would be like a special teams thing. Man, shout out to Miles Killebrew. Like, I don't know that people realize how massive of a loss that's going to be, but it is going to be a massive loss. I know it's not officially like put out. I don't think it's looking good for him. I'd be surprised if it didn't end his season, to be honest, at this point. I I'm hoping that I'm wrong on that, and it's surprisingly good news, but did not look good. Yeah, we'll see what comes back to that. But there's just so much that he does that kind of goes like unnoticed. He's like the quarterback of the special teams. He's basically a signal caller out there and like the personal protector of the punter, if you will, with where he lines up. So curious to see who steps into that role, but it's massive shoes to fill, that's for sure.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, for the people that go refill their snacks whenever a punt happens, they're not going to notice him as much. But yeah, it's a captain of the team, one of the most important players from a special teams aspect on the team. It'd be a huge loss. He is truly impactful. I mean, we had, speaking of bold predictions, like we have for the last couple of years, like had a bold prediction at some point throughout the season that Miles Killebrew is going to block a punt. Like, yeah. and that's how impactful that he has been, that plays into our bold predictions at some point throughout the season. It'll be unfortunate if we don't get to do that the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'll have to think of somebody else who I think maybe going to get one. Benny Sko, potentially. The block.
That's what I was thinking when you said we're like replacing him. Like Ben Skoranek has shown really good on special teams. Maybe he goes in there.
But okay. Let's get to the predictions. We'll go back and forth. I'll start with defense. This guy does not have one of these yet. He's playing really well right now. I think a big part of that is year 2 in the system. Patrick Queen gets his first interception as a Pittsburgh Steeler in this game. I think Joe's going to want to get rid of the ball quick. I think the Steelers are going to have success rushing 4. Maybe, it's a sim pressure. They show blitz or something like that. Queen ends up dropping back. It fools him, throws it right to him. Patrick Queen gets his first INT on Thursday night.
I like it. Similar in the turnover vein, I also have a turnover prediction. I think that Joey Porter Jr. is going to get his first interception of the year going against Jamar Chase.
I do. I mean, I like that shout because I think based off how that matchup went last year, there's a good chance they try to pepper that early and see if it's going to happen again. So, yeah. Okay. I like it. All right. Offense.
Offensively, listen, I'm predicting a pretty solid offensive game. I feel like anybody that has listened to us thus far talk about the offense, that's going to be the case. I think that we see 3 different receiving touchdowns in this game from 3 different players. And I'm not necessarily going to say for certain who I want the players to be, but if I'm going to pick the players, again, not part of the prediction, but if I'm picking them, I'm going to say DK gets a 5th in a row. I'm going to say that Jalen Warren has a receiving touchdown and Pat Freiermuth finally gets on the board this year.
All right. Well, I know what the responses are going to be. I know what the comments are going to look like. In a vacuum, this shouldn't be bold because he had 7 last year. But my bold prediction is Pat catches a touchdown for the first time this season. He's the only tight end that doesn't have a 2-point conversion or a receiving touchdown so far this year, which is crazy to think. But if you look at his numbers against Cincinnati, a team that he typically does pretty well against, got a touchdown in both their matchups last year. You look at his numbers across the board, averages out about 5.5 receptions, about 8 targets, and about 60 receiving yards per game in these matchups. He also has 4 career touchdowns against the Cincinatti Bengals. He scored his first touchdown of his career against the Cincinnati Bengals back in 2021. So a team that he likes playing against. I don't think that they have the linebackers to do the job. Geno Stone's a really good safety. Don't know that they're going to dedicate him to that matchup, though. To your point about DK, I think he's kind of got to be a shadow over top, whether it is Cam Taylor-Britt or DJ Turner. I think they're going to shade him to that side and just give him some extra attention over there. So, yeah, I like the tight ends, and just because of how Pat has fared in this matchup before and because he has not gotten a big bite of that apple yet, I think it's his time this week.
By the way, Pat just looked it up, looking at his splits by team. Cincinnati Bengals is by far the biggest team that he has played against in terms of him getting production. 60 targets, 43 receptions, 489 yards on those receptions, and 4 touchdowns.
His best game of his career also came against them the first game post Matt Canada, 9 receptions, 120 yards.
Yeah,
2023.
feel like it's got to be a Pat game. I mean, the stats don't lie. 489 yards is his most against any team by far. Second place, Cleveland Browns 234. I mean, he just loves fiending against the Bengals.
Mm-hmm. So hoping for that for the boy. We'll see how it takes place. Yeah. Do you got any bonus predictions or just going right to the final score?
I think I'll go right to the final score. I didn't really give much thought to a bonus prediction.
Okay. All right. Well, going back and forth, and I guess it's my turn to go first on this. I had this conversation, obviously, on Afternoon Drive. We also did our preview and predictions. And as much as I've talked about like dictating terms and things like that, you'd think I'm thinking like, oh, the Steelers are about to put up like 40 points in this one. I don't think that they're built to do that necessarily, but I do think that they're just going to cash in the red zone pretty much every time that they get down there. And I think that similarly to last game, I should say, this isn't a conversation of who's going to win this game once we get to like the fourth quarter. Although on Sunday, I never felt like I sat down for the game, kickoff happened, and I never felt like Cleveland was going to win that one. Hopefully I have a very similar feeling to this game tonight. I'm going Steelers 30, Bengals 19.
I like that. I'm not going to lie. That's a little more than I thought you would have predicting the Steelers allowing offensive or defensively. With that being said, my prediction, I feel like I have a similar prediction to you as far as outcome of a game goes. I think that the Steelers are going to control this game, although I don't necessarily think like you that I'm going to say that they're going to score 40 points plus points, even though they have done that in the past against the Bengals. And I think the big factor for me is they're coming off of playing on Sunday. Now they're playing on Thursday. And like, I think it was you that tweeted this. Like, it's not until like you're an adult and like living real life, like you were like realize how crazy it is that they're playing on Thursday after playing on Sunday. Like
Dude,
Thursday night football is crazy.
They left the time that they left today would typically have been like if they played on Sunday would have been having their first like real practice of the week.
Yeah.
Like it's
nuts.
insane.
It's nuts. Once you actually like see how everything works, Thursday night football is nuts. So with that being said, I do think that the Steelers are going to win this one. I think they win it fairly handedly too. So I'm going to say that the final score is 31-10 Steelers.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, I feel fine about either way with as long as our predictions happen. Like, and this is why, like, if this game was being played a week from Sunday, like on a normal schedule, I feel much more confident about it because this game on paper, there's just no reason it should be a game. But like weird things happen on short weeks. Weird things happen on short weeks when you're on the road. Weird things happen when you're on short weeks on the road against the divisional team. That is literally the only path to me. That's the only thing that gives me any bit of pause in terms of this matchup. But again, I still like the Steelers because I'm just leaning on what I see on paper.
Yeah, I agree. I also just want to close out the show because we didn't have a show last week. We didn't have a Steelers Saturday sit down this past week. It is wild that the Steelers still won while they were on a bye, having the division go 0-3 while they were on a bye. Steelers sitting pretty at 4-1. Cleveland and the Baltimore sitting at 1-5. Absolutely nuts. I mean, obviously Lamar Jackson being hurt, that plays into everything with the Ravens right now. But Ravens at 1-5, Bengals 2-4, Steelers sitting nice and pretty at 4-1, hoping to go 5-1, getting that double-edged sword with a division win too. I mean,
yeah,
they're looking good right now.
The team is right now in second. Like, I mean, the Bengals are in second place in this division right now at 2-4. You beat them, they drop to 2-5. You're 5-1. The Ravens are obviously idle this week on their bye, so they'll be 1-5. Cleveland plays Miami in the who's going to fire their coach first bowl. So I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe
we'll see how things shake out. It's tough. I like Stefanski a lot. I'm a fan of Stefanski. It's just
maybe
I don't.
I was saying maybe McDaniels wants to show that he can play in the snow, so he goes to Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't know that would go well. anyways, I mentioned earlier in the show when I first talked about them that we got a new sponsor coming on board, Shop Yens. Wanted to talk more about them. Let's do so. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from around the 412 had to take a quick second to tell you about our newest sponsor, Shop Yens. A lot of people been asking me about around the 412 merch. We got it. Down below is the link, shopyens.com. Save yourself $10 off a minimum purchase of $30, which is basically like you're just buying one t-shirt if you're over there right now. Orders of $75 or more also get free shipping. And while you're over there, don't just check out our Around the 412 stuff. Taylor's got Penguin stuff, Steelers stuff, Pirate stuff, a bunch of good stuff always coming out. Hoodies, I'm actually rocking mine right now. T-shirts, hats, stickers, flags. He's got a bunch of stuff, koozies going on over there right now. Go check all of it out. We appreciate the support that you guys have given us. We appreciate our guy Taylor. Go check it out, shopyens.com. Good stuff. Appreciate Taylor. Great stuff over there. That link I said is down below. Free shipping over $75. Save $10 off of $30, which again, you buy one shirt, that's $30. You're saving $10 on it when you specifically use that link, by the way, because that's a specific link designed to save you $10 when you use that. So please be sure to use the specific link that is in the description of this show. But yeah, I think that's kind of all that needs to be said here. We jam-packed a lot into this episode. We're on Jacoby Myers' watch. Great win against the Browns. Man, would it feel good to get this one against the Bengals and then just get rested for Sunday Night Football against the Packers and see where things can go from there. I was going to put this out there because I'm probably going to do this anyways, but I'll put this out there to put myself on record saying so. We beat the Bengals. We also beat the Packers and can close out October on a positive manner, 6-1. I'll shave the beard, just the mustache in honor of Arthur Smith.
I love it. Love it. Bring back the old ads.
Oh yeah. Now these are going to be outdated. To be honest, I was thinking about doing that for November anyway, but for sure, if we can beat the Bengals and Packers, I'll 100% do it.
If we can beat the Bengals and Packers sitting at 6-1 going into November, I mean, I don't know that obviously we'll talk about it down the road. We'll see how this game goes. But I don't know that we could have asked for a better start from the Steelers if that's the case going into November.
I really don't even I'm such a one game at a time person, but this is just such a unique opportunity with no Burrow and with no Lamar. I'm almost going to be disappointed if this team does not host a playoff game this year, if they don't win the division. It's going to take a pretty significant collapse on their part.
A Russell Wilson type collapse.
Yeah, but they don't have, to me, it's tough of a schedule. The schedule gets tougher on the back end for sure, but it's not Kansas City, Philly, and Baltimore of 2024 in an 11-day span. Tough at any point. I mean, this team cannot have that type of collapse happen again this year. And to be honest, you looked at the landscape of the NFL and it just doesn't look the exact same. Look at Buffalo right now. That does not look like the exact same matchup we thought it was going to be on paper.
Mm-hmm. The Lions don't either.
I mean, Indy's different for the other reason, the opposite reason. Coming here, that might be for first place at the time when we play them in a few weeks. So, I don't know. Looking forward to it. But let's take care of business tonight, one game at a time, one quarter at a time, one drive at a time, one play at a time. Pittsburgh Steelers football on 3. No, but I think that closes it out. As we talk about all the time, check out the links in the description to all of our great sponsors, including the one that we have not yet talked about right above Tyler right now, Marcelo Electric, which I realized, by the way, doesn't look great for us because at least for me, I keep my screen minimized while we're recording. So it's a pretty small box that I'm using here. Well, when I watched it back on YouTube, though, it looks completely fine. So it looks fine for you guys. So whatever.
I just did the same thing. I typically keep my screen smaller. Just maximized it. It looks a lot better.
Yeah. But you guys might be asking yourselves, Marcelo Electric, what's that? What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412 here. Had to take a quick second to tell you about Marcello Electric, serving Beaver, Allegheny, Lawrence, and Butler County. Whether it's residential, commercial, or service calls, our boy Brandon Marcello's got you covered. 724-614-0611. Again, that's Marcello Electric, 724-614-0611. The link below in the description takes you to his Facebook page. All his contact information is there, as well as a lot of the projects that he's been working on. Does great work. Couldn't recommend him enough. So there we go. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you have not yet, and you are on the YouTube side right now. If you're on the audio platforms, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and subscribe over there. And then regardless of what one you're doing, it's totally free to do the other. So just go and do the other everywhere. Support us in every way that you can, no matter whether you are watching or listening. All the links to our sponsors are down below, and there are a growing number of those. Shop-ins down there, by the way, now as well, along with Keeks, along with Game Changers, along with Marcello Electric, and not a sponsor, but Year 8 Rock Around the 412 down there as well. And as we already talked about, 28 tags so far taken for the East Rochester Salvation Army. We're excited about that because that means that we will be at 205 kids so far, their Christmas being provided to them through Rocking Around the 412. Yeah, quick math. So super excited about that. We appreciate you guys. If you donate, you're eligible to win some prizes. Penguins tickets, which we're about to go record and talk about the Penguins right now, letting you guys behind the fourth wall. Pat Farmuth autograph, some other sports memorabilia, Game Changer stuff from Shop-ins. There's going to be a bunch of prizes. So if you guys donate, you'll be eligible to win those. And at the very least, please share the mission. You never know whose eyes and ears you get on this thing. Less than 2 months to go of Year 8 Rock Around the 412. So get involved if you haven't already. Love and appreciate you guys. And then hit us up everywhere at Around the 412. You can find Tyler, Wild_Teach33. You can find me everywhere, Zachary Smith, PGH. And that's it. This has been another Around the 412 Steelers show. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.